Well, good morning everybody. It's quite a cold one today. Yeah, the weather forecast came in and it said it was going to be around about -4, -5 overnight and this morning, and I thought what a perfect opportunity to come out for the final time with the GFX 50R. I've got to send it back tomorrow. So yeah, I thought I'd come out and shoot, and I was online just browsing images as I do all of the time, and I came across this location and I very quickly saw a little GPS tag on it, and it's 15 minutes, no exaggeration, 15 minutes from my house, and I've never seen or heard of this location, and it's right by a major road, a motorway, so it's not exactly peaceful. Lots of cars going by and police and ambulance sirens going off, but it still has a certain tranquility to it that I really like. It's a small nature reserve, and it has this body of water with all of these skeleton trees, these dead trees in the water. Oh, that's fantastic. I can't believe I didn't know that this location was literally on my doorstep. So yeah, happy to be here. The light's not looking good. There's a lot of cloud, very grey skies, which is a shame because I was expecting a blue sky morning. It's forecasted with bright sunshine, but that's difficult to predict when there's high pressure. Difficult to predict where the cloud's going to be. Unfortunately, the cloud is right over me, so we're not going to get any light this morning, but still, just to come down to this nature reserve, have a walk around and explore 15 minutes from my house and just see if I can get a couple of images. I don't think we're going to get anything groundbreaking, but yeah, still, what a place to come. Really, really cool. Alright, gonna have a look around, see what I can see. So I've had a walk around this lake. It's a very, very small area. I was just on the other side of the water behind you guys, and I've just come to this side now, and it does appear to have opened up a bit more. It looks like I have, because I was over there, I just had a quick look, it was still quite dark. Looked through the viewfinder, got the camera set up, couldn't quite find a nice clean composition, but just walking, you know, a couple of 100 yards around the edge of the pond. Now it's opened up a bit and it's much clearer, cleaner. Many more opportunities for those wonderfully simplistic compositions, which I get so excited about. There's no wind, so I have perfect reflections. It's not as cold as forecast. Forecast -4, it's about 0, so the water's not frozen. So we've got reflections, which is fantastic. Yeah, no light, 0 light. So, I mean, I'm thinking black and white. There's hardly any colour in the scene anyway, so yeah, it'll be interesting. But just in case the wind starts to pick up, I think I'll crack on and see about composing these wonderful dead trees. So in my quest, So in my quest for the most simplistic composition possible, I find myself wading out onto very thin ice and jumping from mound to mound of dead vegetation in an attempt to keep my feet dry. Now I'm at the edge of these dead reeds, all of this dead vegetation, and because I've made the effort to get out to the edge, although I have slightly wet feet, the composition, the foreground is much cleaner. There isn't all of this dead vegetation and distraction. It's just clean reflections. It's fantastic. I was setting up my camera, this camera, and I saw a deer leap into the water about 300 yards that way, and this deer was just bouncing through the water and swimming across the lake, and it was just magical. Like, how many people get to see that? Just to witness something like that is why, you know, photography drives us out there to places first thing in the morning, remote areas, you know, places, wilderness and nature, and we get rewarded by sights such as what I've just witnessed with the deer leaping through the water. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've got the 32 to 64mm lens on, which is the equivalent of like a 24 to 55 maybe, somewhere about that on a full frame camera. And I'm shooting at 32mm, so it's about a 24-25mm shot, something like that. I don't know the exact calculations, but it's a fairly wide angle shot, and the reason for that is the trees just seem to tower above me, like stretch out, and to use a wide focal length, you emphasize that kind of almost like a warping effect. You know, these trees are towering above me, and I'm right in front of them. You know, I'm 20 feet from the nearest tree. F16, focusing on the trees at the back, and it's giving me about a 2-second exposure. I've got no filters. I'm vertical. I'm using a 2-second timer. My histogram's looking good, and all in all, it's a beautiful spot. So now that I'm back in from the cold of this morning, I thought I'd just briefly talk about the image that I shot. Now, it's not the greatest image, but I wanted to mention something I've done to the image that I think is quite important, and I do it a lot. I would say I do this in almost all of my images, and that is distraction removal, clone removal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the two images here. Both more or less identical. One's an edited TIFF file and the other's the RAW file. And if we look at the RAW file, so without any distraction removal, you can see it's busier, there are more distractions, especially along the bottom, because although I tried to walk out as close to the edge of the water as possible, I just couldn't get as far as I needed to. Now, I have no problems removing distractions from images. I've always said that. I'm not so sure about putting stuff in, but removing distractions not a problem. And it took me about 5 minutes. Went around the clone removal tool, and it just really cleaned up the image. I did the bottom and I did the edges of the frame because we had a few twigs, a few stragglers poking in that just, you know, because it was such a busy scene, it was very difficult for me to isolate any of the trees. And this was about the best I could do in terms of getting a clean image. And I wanted to share that with you because I think it really is a great technique. Next time you're out taking images, especially when you have reflections or a lovely simple clean scene, try tidying it up with a clone removal tool. Now, the problem is you can get carried away, and when you zoom in you start to see more and more things. So as I like to do is I like to just squint my eyes, blur my vision, and then the obvious distractions jump out at you, and then you can remove those. And it really does, it makes all the difference. I also think that I should briefly give my thoughts on the GFX 50R. Now I said I wasn't going to do any gear reviews, and I'm still not. You know, no video will ever be focused purely on reviewing gear that I don't own myself, let's put it that way. But as I'm giving the GFX back tomorrow and I'm done with it, I know people want to know my thoughts. My thoughts? Fantastic. What a camera, what a pleasure. The resolution of the camera is fantastic, it truly is. The ergonomics, the way you can customize the camera button for button, dial for dial, I absolutely love. And the dynamic range and the quality of the image. You know, I've been using it now for a couple of weeks. I've shot many images with it, although obviously you've not seen them all. And it, you know, it's fantastic. But best thing for me about the GFX 50R is the shape of the sensor. Yes, it's a bigger sensor, it's a medium format sensor, but it's the shape of it. It's a 4:3 ratio rather than a 3:2 ratio. And the reason that's important for me is because the vast majority of my images, I crop 4:5 this way or this way. And with a 3:2 sensor, you are culling way more pixels than you are when you crop a 4:3 sensor. So when I crop a 4:5 like this, I lose far less of the image with that aspect ratio. And for me, that is the most important thing. The downsides with this camera, honestly, the lenses are heavy, big, and expensive. And I think the biggest downside for me, although still for medium format digital, this camera is cheap, the cheapest on the market. As a camera, let's forget that it's medium format, so just as a landscape photography camera, super expensive. I think if I was to have all of the gear that I've had for the past couple of weeks, you know, I'd be pushing 2, 4, 6, 8, I'd be pushing 12 grand, I reckon. About there or thereabouts, I reckon. £12,000 would be my guess. So very, very, very expensive. But a real pleasure to work with. So, there you go, that's my summary of the GFX 50R. I think it is the landscape photographer's camera. I really do. But, you know, you have to have a bit of wedge to, to be able to afford it. So, there you go. Thank you so much for watching. Tune in next time, because I should have something mega for you. And it's not a camera, by the way. We're back on the 5D4, just the old reliable. But I am going on a trip to the other side of the world, and I only booked my tickets yesterday. So it's very, very last minute, very exciting, very spontaneous. So join me on that adventure. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, thanks for watching, and until then, bye for now.